Hello and most welcome to 1576 of the Heidegger series, and I will today continue the article by David Egan that we began in 1749, and we were earlier talking about different modes of the picture, what the picture could be, and different uses of pictures in the writings of Ludwig Wittgenstein. Specifically in this article, it's a certain focus on philosophical investigations. Often Wittgenstein is pointing to that the pictures be in themselves empty and pernicious. A quote from page 65. Eugene Fisher see pictures as paradigms or thought schemas that philosophers take to be representative of a wider range of cases to which they accord a significance they would otherwise not have. We also discussed in the previous two lectures 1754-5, I think it was, Stephen Affelt, and he mentioned the pictures to be the thing that lures us, the thing that tricks us, but also something that we ourselves, from a subjective perspective, conjures up. And I sort of like that Affelt picture, or view. I need to use the word I need to use, because we are complicit in that doing. It's not all in the picture that something that forces us to be compelled or be captivated by something. There's a great degree of freedom. Of course, it becomes habit, and after a while it would be very hard to have any free will about it. Edward de Bono, the British/Maltese creativist philosopher, neurologist, often pointed to was what he called priming, or in some cases he called it perception, used in a very specific way. And he said perception is how we experience things. It's stronger than propositions, suggestions. It is the direct experience, but it is changeable through, in his view, creativity. We need not be stuck what we directly experience. And I think that is pretty close to the Wittgensteinian view of a picture. We can be stuck with it, but there is a choice somewhere, a possibility of I wouldn't say questioning the picture, but using it in a creative fashion, getting something else out of it rather than the repetitive sameness. That is what it is about. You go beyond sameness. There is a saying in Swedish, eating porridge each morning. Even if you vary the cereal you are eating, it will become extensively boring in the end. Even unbearably so. So you can see the picture as breakfast, the idea of breakfast, and you realizing that even in this limitation there are endless possibilities of variation, different takes on it. And I'd say creativity is something that also Wittgenstein is pointing to. A possibility of experiencing things differently. They don't have to be always the same. Or you don't have to take them to be same, more correctly. Let me read something from the text, and maybe that can introduce some new thinking. On page 67, second paragraph. Sorry. It's about to break the sound barrier. Religious pictures. We find frequent reference to pictures in the lectures on religious belief. The belief in a last judgment. The belief that God created man, certain ideas about death, or the idea of God's eye seeing everything. Part of the point here, and sorting out exactly what the point is difficult. Not just for the usual reasons that Wittgenstein is difficult, not but for the philological reason that we have to piece together Wittgenstein's expressed views from a series of student notes. Is that these sorts of beliefs are not factual beliefs on the level with the belief that Dushanbe is the capital of Tajikistan. Or that the dining hall will be serving a pasta dish tomorrow. Wittgenstein insists that the belief in a last judgment is not a prediction about the future, and that any such belief is based on a prediction or foresight would not be a prediction at all, not be a religious belief at all. And that it is far from clear whether a believer or an atheist disagree about the same thing at all when they express belief or disbelief in the last judgment. For a religious person, Wittgenstein says, the belief in a last judgment will show not by reasoning or by appeal to ordinary grounds for belief, but rather by regulating for all in his life. This is a very much stronger fact. Foregoing pleasures always appealing to this picture. Religious beliefs are obviously a special case of pictures, but these passages illuminate the other kinds of philosophical pictures cited above in two important ways. First, a picture is not justified in the way that ordinary beliefs might be, by appealing to justification or grounds for beliefs. The dialectic in which we encounter the Augustinian picture is not one in which Wittgenstein's interlocutor tries to give reasons for holding this picture, but rather one in which Wittgenstein struggles to dislodge the interlocutor's feeling that she must hold this picture. Therein it lies. It's the must of the picture, or, as I said previously, the need to stick to sameness in your take on it. Or rather to see that you are free to radically change the perception. The must disappear. Second, a picture applies pervasively. unlike a religious belief, a picture of language or the mind may not regulate for all in someone's life, but as the investigations show in detail, the ways in which we conceive of language and mind are intimately interlinked and deeply inform our reasoning on a very broad range of subjects. Describing the picture of thought coming into the head, Wittgenstein writes, "He does not believe it, he leaves it. He lives it." And emphasizes the human behavior that is wrapped up with such a picture. And then we come into mythic pictures. In these respects, pictures are more like the philosophical bedrock Wittgenstein alludes to in PI 217 than ordinary beliefs or assumptions, even deeply held ones. As I understand it, Wittgenstein's invocation of bedrock is meant partly as a rejection of a justificatory foundationalism, according to which propositions are justified by other, more fundamental propositions, and at the base of our justificatory practices is a bedrock of irresistible propositions whose certainty compels us independent of any further basis. For Wittgenstein, propositions and justifications only go so deep, and their intelligibility relies on our sharing certain forms of life. Certain practices and indeed certain pictures. In Culture and Value, Wittgenstein remarks, "It is true that we can compare a picture that is firmly rooted in us to a superstition. But it is equally true that we always eventually have to reach some firm ground. Either a picture or something else, so that the picture which is at root of all thinking is to be respected and not treated as a superstition." A picture, then, is not a proposition that can be debated over, justified, agreed with, or disagreed with, at least not in the normal sense of the word, of these words. Pictures are more like organizing myths, which orient our thinking in a broad sense. In describing pictures as myths, I deliberately follow Cavell, who distinguishes myth from metaphor. Metaphors are in principle replaceable and can be expressed in other words. But Wittgensteinian pictures, like myths, are not stand-ins for a more direct, literal expression of the same thing, but are rather the most direct way of expressing what it is they express. Cavell sees such mythologies at work, in particular in our ways of thinking about privacy and the inner and the outer. He speaks of the myth of the body as a veil, concealing the inner life of a person from the view of others. According to this myth, we are essentially hidden from one another, so that at best we can infer what is going on inside of another person indirectly through the way his inner life manifests itself in bodily behavior. Wittgenstein himself calls this myth a picture. I cannot know what is going on in him is above all a picture. It is the convincing expression of a conviction. It does not give reason for the conviction. They are not obvious. The conviction itself, the picture or the myth that shapes our thinking about our relation to others is not itself subject to rational review, but rather shapes the way we subject other matters to rational overview. Rational review. Like myths, the work we must do with pictures is not so much to evaluate them in terms of their truth or falsity, but to understand what they mean, how they are applied, and how we ought to apply them. Recall PFF 7, paragraph 55. Our pictures, Wittgenstein tells us, must be explored if we want to understand the sense of what we are saying. But the picture seems to spare us this work. It already points to a particular use. This is how it takes us in. Myths are not immune to evaluative assessment. We can perfectly well claim that one myth is pernicious, another illuminating, another beautiful, and another misleading. However, we must recognize that such assessment is itself guided by other pictures. so that our critical assessment does not take place from a position of neutral arbitration. So here we see that the picture itself is stronger than any proposition. It's beyond doubt. It's constituted of singular there-ness. It just exists, unquestionable. They are underneath. They are the grounds we prefer to be in. I think there is a close to connection to what we are as human beings. Our will is before everything. And I think our will or our personality is closely tied to the picture. That somewhere we decided upon it in a very fundamental, strong way. Maybe the strongest possibility there is. And I like the term bedrock often mentioned here. The picture is the bedrock. You do not construct the bedrock, and let's imagine we couldn't even move the bedrock, not even with dynamite or thermex. It would be forever there. And then you can sort of imagine that we weren't even aware of its existence. That's bedrock. It's almost like water for a fish. He swims around it all his life. He has no possibility of being aware of it. It is not even a medium for him. And he cannot sense it, not even indirectly. But going out of the water just for a second will give immediate perception of a difference. And he would in that case understand that he sort of had a picture / water. And I think that could be the purpose of Wittgenstein's later writings, to point to the possibility that we can discover the medium we are swimming around in. It's only lacking the volitional feature, that there is a volition going on here. Our will is definitely part and parcel of this picture, so to speak. We will it, and it's foundational for who we are. We wouldn't be without it. We get strengthened by it, but also weakened, the introduction of a choice, even though the picture is chosen from the beginning, is we are unaware that we once upon a time made that choice. So we have become slaves of a previously made choice. And to learn that that choice is not irrevocably, and that it is changeable, and that it is not the bedrock of reality. It is still firm and foundational, but our possibility to change it doesn't make it any softer or less firm. Actually, it will strengthen it. A little short introductory to pictures. We have now 2 authors, or 3, Horridge, Afelt and Egan, all taking interest in picture. On the side we have Paul Johnston and Joachim Schulte, who goes into the grits of what the pictures leads, what sort of confusion there are in the details of our existence, like how we perceive emotions, language, thinking, and so forth. Well, I say thank you very much. Have a very pleasant afternoon, morning, day, evening or night, wherever you are. Bye-bye for now.